Before the video does begin, in case you guys are wondering, the websites and resources that we are using in this video, they will be in the pinned comment if you want to use them for yourself. But the free websites we are using today is BBS Simulator. We're then also using Las Noches and also URYU Shop. All three really good websites that I recommend you guys check out. Alright, like, just so early this morning, we did get the announcement of the new 10th anniversary part 2 characters. A really good, broken even, RENJI and also JUSHIRO. JUSHIRO likely being the biggest surprise here, but at the same time, surprisingly welcomed. I had a lot of positive comments regarding JUSHIRO's inclusion into this banner, even if it does come at the cost of URYU being the, Brave Battle character for this anniversary. But again, if you are upset with URYU being a Brave Battle character, it's pretty much guaranteed he's going to get more units in the future. One even from the same season, in particular his fight with Ichigo. So we're likely going to get another Blood War Ichigo, another Blood War URYU. The question now is not if, it's more so when. Now we will be doing a community reaction, so go over to my community post and let me know how you guys feel about these new characters, regarding their visuals, their skill set, and also the character choice. But for today's video, we're gonna more so look at how good they are as characters. So disregarding the character choice, their visuals, we're more so looking at how good they are from a meta standpoint. And spoiler alert, they are obviously some of the best characters in the game. While we're not really here to talk about, Brave Battle characters in particular, but it's going to come at no surprise here that URYU is going to be absolutely broken. If you thought Mila Rose was toxic, this character is that, but amplified. Because URYU's killers are really good here. Having Stamina Killer and also Soripa is going to be relevant for a long time. And unlike Mila Rose, for example, she has very similar killers. It's Quincy and also Soripa. But the difference here, though, is that because she has a Quincy killer, it's only 20% more damage. Whereas for URYU, because he has Stamina Killer, this goes for himself too because he is a Stamina. But any future Stamina in the Brave Battle meta, which likely is going to happen because we are in the Blood War arc, right? We're going to get more Stamina. He would then be doing 40% more damage to them. So killers definitely are better here when compared to Mila Rose. Because likely at this point in time, if you are a Quincy, you are going to be a Stamina. It's very rare for us to get Quincy's now that aren't Staminas. But with the two, URYU's got a lot going for him. He does have Flurry plus 3. He has a 40% bruiser. And then URYU also does have an additional 30% bruiser. It's a bit less when you aren't max transcended, but he has more bruiser that is multiplying his inbuilt bruiser. So his damage output honestly isn't even too bad. It's Flurry plus 3 everywhere, with the fact that through his innate skills, he does have long reach and also sharpshooter. So similar enough to other characters that we have seen. Asking, for example, despite him being a Brave Battle character, you can use him outside of Brave Battles. He's definitely not restricted to that game modes. Now, Asking, to be fair, does have the advantage of having an increased stat augment chance to inflict paralysis, plus, in the case for URYU, he doesn't have any stat augments, but I think overall he is going to be fine outside of Guild Quest if you are a fan of URYU, which this is a really cool form, so it is understandable. But in Brave Battles, yeah, he's going to be the best character because he's also introducing the Persistence Breaker, and as a ranged unit, what he's going to have the advantage of, especially with long reach, right, compared to Mila Rose, is that he's going to be able to attack everyone straight away. He's going to be able to solo teams way faster than Mila Rose. Likely, despite Mila Rose having killer against URYU, due to the range advantage that URYU does have here, Mila Rose is likely going to die before she can maybe even get her first hit in on URYU. Especially because the new skill that URYU is introducing here is that he's blocking all debuffs and boosts. So no one here in the meta is getting a stat advantage. Boosts are now basically irrelevant with this character. Debuffs are now irrelevant with this character regardless of their attribute, but then he is giving himself a stat boost from the start of the battle. So naturally he's going to have more stats, he's going to have the range advantage, and he also has Persistence Breaker. Yeah, this character is pretty much the best Brave Battle character in the game. But now let's have a look at the other characters. So first up, let's have a look at RENJI. RENJI, of course, is going to be really, really impressive. And one of the main reasons for that is due to his attribute and also range killer combination. As far as technique characters are concerned, we've been needing a new technique character, truth be told. Our last set of technique characters haven't been anything super amazing. I guess one of the last standouts was Sun and also Driscoll, but they themselves aren't as good outside of Guild Quest. I mean, Driscoll's alright, but it's Driscoll. He's not really that cool of a character, Of course, we did have Giselle and most importantly, Grammy. Grammy is basically the standout technique character. And in terms of survivability and maybe even auto capabilities, it's a given that Grammy is still the better technique unit. But in terms of raw damage and also claytime, what we are are going to see it is a better character. Because if we have a look at Renji's damage output, and this is probably one of the better parts about part 2 of the anniversary here, is that these characters rival the anniversary units, right? Normally part 2, especially last year, the part 2 units didn't really compete with Kenpachi and also Grammy. These characters do, because Renji has Frenzy +3. He has a 60% Berserker. Of course, he has the expected 80% Scorch Pressure boost. It's a tad bit lower, 20% lower compared to the anniversary characters. But Renji can also inflict Lacerate, which he then does 80% more damage. His EX skill further increases that, it multiplies it. And then through bonus abilities, you can also give him 40% more damage to lacerated enemies. And Lacerate is a really good status element to have. More so in Guild Quest because it does actually stop the enemies from attacking you. He has Poise Break too, so he's going to be fine. And also Poise, which is important for this character because he does have the 2-stage charge strong attack. It's one of the best strong attack frees in the entire game. If you tap it once, it's a normal strong attack free. If you hold it down a little bit and let it go, it's a better strong attack free. And then if you fully charge it, it's an even better strong attack free. It's one of the best attacks in the game. And it's always great when a powerful character like this is given such a good strong attack free, especially with the visuals it does have with this character. But even for Limit Breaker content, right, this character is also given Lacerate plus on his SA2, which is, by the way, a superior strong attack, and also on his EX and normal attack string. So that in of itself is good, but then he also, surprisingly, was given 2 status elements on certain attacks, which this is the first time they've done something like that, and I'm down for it because Burn and Lacerate is a really good status element to have, especially again for Limit Breaker. It's one of the main reasons why Ishin is such a powerful character in Limit Breaker, because Burn and Lacerate damage over time, both being inflicted at the same time, just does crazy damage per tick. And that's all without even mentioning one of the main parts about this character, something that a lot of people wanted to see in part 1 of the anniversary. Granted, they didn't need it, but it definitely would have made them better, is the EX attack, which is the 100% increase of his Spiritual Pressure boost. So it's the 9th Annie-Kenpachi EX move. It's the end of year full brain Bankai move. For 10 seconds, this character is going to do insane damage. What we are having here with this unit, surprisingly, but maybe rightfully deserved due to his showing in Core 3 of 1000 Year Blood War, is 9th Anniversary Kenpachi with a more appropriate killer, a better strong attack set outside of Guild Quests. Look, even though Kenpachi is such an amazing unit, nowadays, because characters have gotten so good, you're mainly using this character in Guild Quests. You definitely can take him outside of Guild Quests, but due to his strong attack here, he's a bit slow. Not slow, but it's not as smooth as the other characters, if that makes sense. In Guild Quests, though, he's still the Guild Quest king. And likely will still be clearing faster, more reliably than RENJI, but RENJI's going to come very close. Even then, it doesn't matter, they're in different Guild Quest phases. But even for the respective Guild Quest phases, that's again one of the better parts with RENJI. It's for a phase that I know a lot of people are in need of a new character. Christmas Unohana released at a time where most people skipped the banner. They were saving for the upcoming end of year banner, which was worth it because we did get Senjumaru and also Ichigo. So if you did skip Unohana, like myself for example, you were pretty much stuck with using Future Society Okyura. And what we have with this RENJI, if you look at the damage numbers here, right, RENJI right now for this Guild Quest phase is being compared to Future Society Okyura. So when you look at these numbers, it's basically saying that a 1 out of 5 RENJI is almost 5 times better than a Future Society Okyura. But look at the number differences here. RENJI at 1 out of 5 is basically better than a Max Transcendent Unohana. And she has Guild Quest skills. RENJI doesn't, so he's way better in and outside of Guild Quest. And that's what you want for an anniversary. And if you get him to Max Transcendence, look at those numbers. 842. Absolutely insane. And of course, with that, the same can be said for Jushiro. Attribute, killer combination, range type, perfect. We needed, desperately, one of the main things we wanted to see during the anniversary was a new ranged rank killer. We'll go and explain why we needed that when we look at the Guild Quest scores, but also at the same time, a conventional power unit to carry us would also be gladly welcomed, and we got that as well with this particular character. Now, when it comes to Jushiro, he's also insane for different reasons, but very similar reasons nonetheless. So what we are seeing here from a damage standpoint is Frenzy +3. He has an 80% Berserker, so strong attack damage increase. His increased status on chance is a tad bit higher compared to RENJI at 100%, and then through his EX skill, which is very similar to 10th Anniversary Ichigo, it's 30% Berserker. Again, less at Special Level 1, but that's going to multiply his Berserker, give him more, and then on top of that, you have an 80% damage to paralyzed enemies. So of course, damage output is very high, he has a good strong attack hit, and while his EX move isn't super crazy, it's still good nonetheless being a Tracking Vortex. Surprisingly, this anniversary, we didn't see a character with Tracking Vortex, but at least they included it some way, shape, or form in his EX move. And that, for the most part, is the first time we've seen that in an EX attack. attack. Now, it's kind of crazy because, again, it's just Jushiro. While this moment is very big, very important, he literally held together the three worlds, it's still surprising for this character that, doesn't actually fight anyone, gets such a powerful unit, especially, even compared to Renji. Renji's insane, but, Jushiro has some extra things about him that I do like. For example, he's immune to every style summon at a 200% resistance. This character has Long Stride built in with extra flash steps. Renji will need to be given Long Stride through bonus abilities. And for the first time, this character does have strong attack recharge for your entire team every time you move into another room, which is very beneficial for Limit Breaker content. It is the lowest that we've seen. Soifun had 20%, Fullbring Bankai Ichigo had 15%, and Jushiro only has it at 10%. So it's not as good, but this character has it straight away. The other characters need to get a certain number of kills before they start offering the recharge in between stages. But even so, it's better to have it than not have it. So honestly, I can't even complain about that. And then of course you have a look at Ranged Aranka guild quests. And once more, what we are seeing here is that Jushiro is basically 2 times better than Bambietta. And it's going to be even worse right now for the current guild quest phase. For Bambietta in particular, because she is a speed character, so the final boss is going to be a technique unit, where Bambietta is going to perform significantly worse. While it is cool that Bambietta did have Lacerate to stop the enemies from attacking you, they are still going to be moving around the place, especially as she isn't going to be reliably killing the enemies fast. Jushiro, it keeps it simple with Paralysis Plus, so the enemies are going to be instantly paralyzed and make it easier for your normal attack damage characters to, take them down, for example. Although, to be fair, Bambietta did have the advantage, even though it makes no difference, probably. Pretty much doesn't. Bambietta does have the advantage of being a Quincy, where you were also able to use Robert in the same team, and both of them were getting buffed by Grammy. So now if you were to use Jushiro in your team, which you should, he's way better than Bambietta, more consistent too, has an EX attack as well. Bambietta doesn't have an EX attack. If you're using Robert in the team, which you probably should because he's a good normal attack damage character, you're going to have to choose whether you want to buff Robert or Jushiro, and likely it's going to be Jushiro. But even then, in some cases, you might not even want to use Robert in your guild quest team. Just go full send boosting Jushiro to make sure he can clear his guild quest as fast as possible. But next up, thanks to Ohara's shop, we can also now check the character's damage output before they do release and even compare it to currently the best units in the game. So right now, the way we are building our characters for comparison's sake, it's very similar across the board. They're all using the exact same accessories, they're all basically using the exact same links, and by that, they're both providing recharge and strong attack damage at full stamina, with also the Chad Soul trait, which is full stamina damage again. All their bonus abilities are going to be the same. Their max transcended, the affiliation and attribute tree is what reflects my account. Yours might look a tad bit different. And for our first set of comparison, right, let's just look at this. We're going to assume the character's attribute advantage. They have their 80% or 100% spiritual pressure boost. They have killer effects, and any damage modifiers that increase their damage output through the skills will also be applied. So when we come down here, we can actually see a detailed description of how much damage the character will do on their normal attacks, their strong attacks, their EX attack, their special move, and also their overall DPS. In the case for 9th anniversary Grammy, it's 1 million damage per second. Now, of course, we can take it higher, and we will do so in a minute, because, for example, we could apply his EX move, which is going to increase his attack stat, also debuff the enemies, and in that case, his damage goes up to 1.7 million. But again, that's only for a short amount of time. In the case of the debuff, it's only ever for one wave. So in Limit Breaker, for example, once you kill that wave, you're then looking at around 1.2 million damage. We look at Kenpachi. Now, to be fair, Kenpachi is the only one in the way we did build him to be a tad bit different, because right now he's one of the few characters in the game, besides the characters, of course, that have access to their own EX skills to benefit from an EX skill soul trait. So right now, assuming Ruki has max transcended, given the level 5 EX, we're getting a 35% additional SP boost, or it should be multiplied. So again, if we're looking at raw strong attack damage output, we're looking at 1 million damage. But remember, Kenpachi for 10 seconds does have access to the EX boost that is doing 2 million damage per second. 1.7 to 2 million. I guess it depends if you actually deal the damage on the EX attack, because it's a very small AoE around it. After that, we have Fullbring Bankai Ichigo. We're looking at around 700k damage, but again, he can use the EX boost to increase his damage output to 1.3 million. I know we're here to mostly highlight the new characters, but we are building up to them. Obviously, 10th anniversary Ichigo recently released. We actually didn't, try out his damage output in this yet. So right now, just based off of raw damage, we're looking at 1.6 million damage, which is very high. And again, that's without even using his Soul Bomb, which would further increase his damage output. When it comes to Ruki, again, pretty much the same exact build. Surprisingly, she has one of the higher ones at base, when you don't include the extra damage that you can potentially get. We're looking at 1.9 million, but to be fair, that is kind of maybe inflated a tad bit due to the killer effects. in normal PvE content, you're not going to have killer, so you're looking at 1.2 million damage, which is still really good for, again, never having killer. Again, this character is kind of dealing more damage off killer to a lot of characters that are dealing damage with killer. So just goes to show how good Rukia is, despite being given an unconventional killer where you're only ever going to see that against bosses and maybe in epic raids. But that now takes us to the new character. So first up, we have Jushiro. So again, just looking at all the strong attack damage that we can get reliably, we're looking at 1.2 million damage per second, pretty high. Right now, we are really comparing the best of the best units together, so the damage numbers are going to be similar. If we were to compare it to a normal end of month character, you know, the damage output here is going to look even more impressive, because not a lot of characters can get to this height. And then in the case for Renji, his damage output is 1.2 to 1.4 million, so Renji's going to hit very hard. But then again, similar to Ichigo and also Kenpachi, we activate the EX move for 10 seconds to do an upwards to 2.6 million damage, which is very, very high. But if we want to include team buffs, how high can we potentially take it? Now, the thing with Gremmy is that he's a self-sufficient unit. Again, right now, with the EX boost and also debuff, we're looking at 1.7 million damage. But Gremmy can't really use anyone to buff his damage output besides Giselle, who can provide a 30% ailment damage buff. Most Quincy's get better thanks to Gremmy, but Gremmy already has those skills. He can't really get much more. But if we are trying to look at max damage output here, let's also apply the weakened defense on the Soul Bomb. But let's also go ahead and apply an additional 20% strong attack damage. Let's just say your team has Mugetsu attached to it. Let's say it's Giselle. With the Mugetsu soul trait, now you're looking at 3.3 million damage, and that's pretty much like the max Gremmy can go. When it comes to the other characters, right, because they don't have their own team buffs, they get better with other characters in the team. So let's go ahead and use our EX boost. Let's go ahead and use our hypothetical Soul Bomb, apply the weakened defense. Let's throw Tenjiro on the team to give us a 43% attack, focus, and defense increase. With that, we're getting the extra 30%, and then we can throw in two characters providing 40% strong attack damage. Let's say Kanfi on World Kisuke with the Mugetsu soul trait. Now we're looking at 4.5 million to 5.3 million damage. Granted, most of this is overkill damage. You're only really going to see situations like this in guild quests, where again, a lot of time it is overkill damage. So that's why the first numbers that we did look at more so closely reflect how they would perform in PvE content when you don't have a team set of boosters. But Kenpachi hypothetically can go up to 5.3 million damage, and that's with the EX boost. Using Fullbring Bankai Ichigo, with the same set of buffs here, we're looking at 3.5 billion damage, not nearly as high, but still really good nonetheless. And again, at least when it comes to guild quest content, this character can rival Kenpachi's clear time. Kenpachi clears a tad bit faster. It's in different guild quest phases. It doesn't matter that much. Most of it is overkill damage, but Ichigo can go to 3.5 million. For 10th anniversary Ichigo, using these particular buffs, can get upwards to 6.4 million damage per second. So significantly more damage when compared to 9th anniversary Kenpachi. It's expected. He's a 10th anniversary character. And again, he's doing all that without any of these extra special stuff in his kit. It's just straight raw damage. For 10th anniversary Rukia, using these damage buffs, we're looking at 4.9 million damage, still highly respectable, of course. And of course, the strong attack the characters do have more importance when it comes to this. Even if one character has more damage than the other, it doesn't necessarily reflect in good overall gameplay. Rukia in particular is able to clear very fast, very consistently too, due to the strong attacks that she does have. Her guild quest is going to be an absolute breeze, and it has been, even with the enhanced difficulty. Next up, we have Jushiro. We're using these damage modifiers, or damage buffs. We're looking at 3.1 million damage, so not the highest that we've seen, but again, a lot of this is going to be overkill. While he can't quite reach the peaks of some of the other characters we just had a look at, it's still really good nonetheless, especially if we were to compare it to a character that came out for like a random end of the month, right? They're not going to be able to even reach this high. And then lastly for Renji, again, using the same buffs here, we're looking at over 6.3 million damage. So Renji's an absolute powerhouse in terms of how he was built. And again, that's mainly due to the lacerate damage and also the EX move, and of course the SA3 that he does have. I'm super excited for Renji, I really am. And I guess for Renji, it can also get higher because he gets stronger with the Soipers in your team. And if you were to build Renji in a guild quest, for example, the team support that you would use if you were focusing on buffing his damage output are actually Soipers. So for example, a team like Renji would likely use a character like Tenjiro, more so just for the boost plus effect, 43% attack focus increase. And then I guess you can throw in Jushiro for the 20% strong attack damage, but the 40% damage to enemies afflicted by an ailment will not stack with, you know, Tenjiro's 30%, but you will get the highest one at 40%, and they're both Soipers, so Renji will be getting more strong attack damage, 20% more. So if we at least apply the extra 10% strong attack damage, I don't think I can get higher on this site, and then give him the 40% damage, we're looking at 7 million damage. In theory, just based on this damage calculator, if everything goes well, everything goes right, Renji should be the hardest hitting character of the game. At 7 million damage. Of course, that, you know, it's not counting for actual gameplay. But if we were hypothetically to speculate who does the most damage, when everything is perfect, they're getting all the damage buffs they possibly can get, RENJI's definitely up there. If he's not first, it don't matter, but he's definitely up there. Again, super high damage output with RENJI, which is why I'm most excited for him. So yeah, overall, I think part 2 is pretty exciting. We have really powerful characters coming away. Cool characters too. Again, I personally would have maybe preferred URYU to be the broken SP unit in exchange for JUSHIRO. But I don't mind JUSHIRO getting some extra love because, again, URYU's likely going to get another character in the future and likely a better character with time. But yeah, for me, I'm super impressed with RENJI. Super excited to get him. Hopefully, I can too. I mean, at this point in time, if you saw my last summons, I'm like 40 multis in over the last 2 months with no new character to show for it. So hopefully my luck will turn around because I have new sources that I'm ready to use and want to use. So with that said, hope you guys enjoyed the video. See you guys next time. Take care and peace.